Ralph Bakshi is a very legendary animator that I am diving into because I wanted a break from the mainstream. I mean, most of his work was like in the 70s towards 90s, so yeah, there is enough to play with. If you have never heard of him or seen his work, just imagine animation that is very, very gritty, very, well, at that time it had a lot of shock value because it had racism, it had all kinds of bigotry and such. And yeah, it was pretty gross, but it was one of the only, he was one of the only animators actually even mentioning black people or like saying that, hey, women are tired of being, sexualized. At least they said that. Yeah, at least he made people look like real people, not just all pretty and cutesy. So, yeah. I, like, at this point in my life, I've only seen two of his movies. One was Coonskin, and frankly, I just found that movie to be very boring. Yeah, I remember a friend who also loves animation was so excited to see it with me because, yeah, we were just so excited to like see something new and edgy. And, it was definitely different than something else I had seen, but maybe it was just part of the times where it had a lot of slow nothing in between things happening. I don't know, it was more abstract thought than actual narrative plot, and I found that dull. The other one was Cool World, and yeah, the most thing I can remember of that, it was just kind of a dirtier, simpler version of Roger Rabbit. Heck, they even have their own Jessica Rabbit with Cool World, like Hollywood, and a very young Brad Pitt. Yeah, yeah. Was there more to that movie? No, not really. You can watch it if you want. Mostly it's kind of porny to me, but yeah. I've learned that Ralph Bakshi is more than that. He has other classic movies that I plan to see in my future, like Wizards and Fire and Ice. And apparently he was the one that made the original Lord of the Rings animated movie. I don't know why I said original. Original animated. There wasn't another like animated feature of the Lord of the Rings as far as I know. But no, before I start seeing all those movies, I decided to, get a smaller, bite sized taste to refamiliar myself with his work because Cool World and Coonskin were like years ago. Recently, I watched Spicy City, a 6 episode series, kind of an anthology, where the characters, like in each episode, are not related at all, but they're all sort of in the same setting and have the same theme. Yeah, only lasted 6 episodes. I understand why, and it's also a pity. Yeah. Why do I understand why this canceled? Again, it was very porny. Yeah. Just because the women said they were unhappy being sexualized doesn't mean they did much about it. Yeah, not really. No. The colors were dark and murky. The plots, again, it was a different time period, the late 90s, where there wasn't much dialogue or plot as much as was, one thing happening another, and maybe it was because it had a budget, it more gave you idea of what could happen, like, the brevity of people said very little and kind of like let your imagination go to the worst possible scenario. Yeah. Some could say that was boring. But the pity of it is that it did have a very like noir and rather spooky-ish like feel to it. I like that, each one was a science horror story mixed with a little detective work. Yeah, maybe a more, I don't know, mature hand were to take on that kind of project again, I'd be so happy. I would love to see like a noir animated feature. I guess we'll get that with the Batman Cape Crusader, but I'm kind of tired of superhero stuff. I want to see an animated feature for adults that isn't obnoxious or trying too hard with the shock value, but just wants to tell a spooky, smoky story. Yeah. Space City was so 90s with the giant buttons and still using CD-ROMs, even though it was supposed to be futuristic. They had floating cars. And yeah, it was the start of people, being a little too attached to their screens. Yeah, that definitely evolved. Gosh, I want to enjoy an adult animated feature, but it doesn't seem like anyone wants to make an original or good adult like animated TV series these days. And while I said I was sick of superheroes, still by default of nothing else new, I ended up watching the Kiteman show. And I did not have high expectations for it anyway, but I was disappointed anyway. Let's see. First off, Golden Glider. I was excited for her to, become a bigger character because the one episode where she meets Poison Ivy and they have that like very pleasant, it's not awkward, but endearing interaction together. She just came off as such a sweetie, and it's like, oh, you're like a massive supervillain to the Flash, and yeah, you're coming off as just such a sweetheart, and that's funny because that's how a lot of the Harley Quinn villains are. King Shark will bite off anyone's head, but it'll totally help you reset your password and check your time card too. And in the Kite Man show, she's kind of just a differently dressed Harley Quinn right now with her cute but psycho thing. And that is annoying. Yeah. I like the person that they chose to be her voice actress in her live action work. Everything, everywhere's all at once. Yeah. It's not her voice acting that I have a problem with. That's done fine. I'm just disappointed that her character isn't different than Harley Quinn. And Kite Man is still being Kite Man, annoying everybody with his naivety and with his, not being very helpful. It's nice that he's, sincere and positive, but God, his dorkiness is hard to take. And he's dorky, and I don't know, for some reason, every other character around him has to be even more miserable and cynical. It's not because they're comparing it to him. They're just trying to like make up for the show and try to like, give the people what they want. It's a curse with adult animation these days where everyone thinks they have to be dirty and nasty to be funny. And honestly, yeah, while a lot of the best like jokes on Harley Quinn were pretty nasty, not all of them. No, a lot of them were more like just character based or situation based, part of the ridiculous world they're in. In Kite Man and Golden Glider's world, they have an arch nemesis in Lex Luthor, but it's mostly Lex Luthor just being petty. Just, he's super wealthy, and he got annoyed when Kite Man insulted him. So, yeah, he just uses his big powers and, like, influence just to do things to be mean to Kite Man. It's sad. Yeah. I am excited to see more of Malice, though. I like her gothic Alice in Wonderland look. Before they said that she was Malice related to, like, Godspeed or God something. Dark Side, my bad. I thought she was like, a really weird remake of like Raven from Teen Titans. I'm not disappointed. I like that she's her own character, a character that I don't think I've seen in animation before. So yay, something original in that. The whole entitled millennial thing is played out and blah. And I don't like how everyone gives Golden Glider a hard time for being older. Yeah, I'm disappointed with that. I love that she's actually a good figure skater even without her powers. But blah. And then when I compared, like, the women in Spicy City to, like, the women that are in this, the Harley Quinn shows, has much changed in the last 25 years? I mean, yes, the women are meant to be as, like, as attractive as possible to rather ridiculous skinny degrees. But at least, there's a little bit more variety in height and fashion sense and personality in the Harley Quinn shows and a lot of other like adult anime features these days compared to Spicy City, where yeah, it's kind of like everyone was Jessica Rabbit, but maybe a slightly different ethnicity sometimes. Yeah, that was weird and disappointing. But despite that, I will still look for more backseat work because the man's a legend for some reason. Right now, I think it's for being one of the biggest perverts, but I am probably not looking at his whole ray. I have got to give the man more credit for that. So, stay tuned to my adventure. As for the Kite Man show, meh. If you're like a diehard superhero fan, then sure, watch it. If you want something different than the Harley Quinn show, it's different, but not in a positive way. It's like, I feel like it's a lower class of comedy, like a much lower class. One of the things that, separated Harley was she was a little bit crazier and more impulsive than her other villain friends. And her villain friends were at least trying to be adults, making their ways work and such. But the Kite Man show, no. Everyone's just so depressed and sad and in denial. And the fact that one of the new characters is a kindergarten teacher, please don't expose children to this world so soon. That worries and scares me. Also, Janelle James is hilarious, and I hope she gets more than just, I'm a loose head jokes. Yeah, yeah. So those are my opinions. Those are the two things I've been watching recently. More to come.